coming up the street with a lady of the equine world. She was a lady of horses.
Yes, and donkeys more.
Donkeys more than horses, yeah.
More than horses.
Yeah.
And is in the process of establishing a social enterprise around equine assisted learning.
I love the terms that are coming into play nowadays. A social enterprise.
Yes, a social enterprise.
You were reared a long way from social enterprises. People did things. They did good things. Maybe they're organising it, whatever. I'm not faulting you for saying that's what people say.
Yeah, no, that's the terms, and I suppose it is those terms as we use them maybe can help to give people an understanding of what it is, because it's not. A social enterprise is different to a charitable function in that the idea behind a social enterprise is that it funds itself, that it becomes self-sufficient, so that it's not always relying on charitable donations. So,
which is good.
Which is good.
Yeah. Sean, can I ask you? I'm going to interrupt you there. I'm just aware that Joanne's mic is pointing at that top corner. Is her level okay? I've asked the question. As long as I do that, it's important to ask the question, isn't it?
Always ask the question.
So the
never assume.
I've told generations of reporters in the BBC where I had responsibility for news and current affairs, never assume. Yeah. And if you put something down, you need to be able to explain why you did it. Why I wrote that story the way I wrote it. You need to tell people. Yeah. That's it. So this woman, tell us what she's doing.
Yeah, so she's, well, there's just, like that, with the social enterprise, there's generally two sides to it. So there's one part of the business that will usually fund or work towards funding another element of the business.
So what is she doing?
The charitable element of the business will be to assist young children, so anywhere from 18 months to 5 years, to learn through equine, through time with donkeys, basically.
Wow.
And that has a lot of benefits from, particularly for children who may have development delay, maybe speech delay or balance problems or various different things. And a lot of therapy and intervention that can support these children doesn't really start until they're certainly through equine therapy. With horses, it doesn't start till they're older. Whereas with donkeys, they're quite small. They can only take up to 4 stone weight. So it starts at 18 months, really, as soon as the child is able to.
You can imagine a child of 18 months going. The two things will happen when they come close to the donkey. The child, ha 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 ha.
There'll be reaction.
There will be, and that's good. Yeah. That's good. And of course, it's not without significance that donkeys, through the modern generations, have plied the beaches of the land, taking people on donkey rides up and down the strands.
So they're very docile in nature when they're handled. Often can be, when they're handled. Some
donkeys are devils, as you would know. God knows.
But they do respond very well to being handled, and the more they're handled, obviously, the more.
So where is she going to do this?
Loughgall.
Yeah, it's close by, isn't it?
Yeah, it's only about I think about 25 minutes away, something like that. Between Market Hill kind of direction. But certainly sounds like with my work with children with autism and in that area, I have noticed, or I've been aware of children who have spoken for the first time in an equine therapy session and things like that. So it can be pretty powerful. But being around animals, again, whether the child has any diagnosis or not, but even just petting an animal for a child is.
And it's significant that people, I remember, even at the other end of the spectrum, when people are at the end of their life journey. Rocky, God love Rocky. He was the most beautiful dog in the world, and I lost him. Shouldn't have lost him. Well, he did. I had to put him down, but I did so with him in my arms. It broke my heart. But Rocky and I, we were invited to go up to the hospice, and Rocky came in before the matron got there, and he was in the middle of the room with all of the patients, and they were literally having a ball. But they didn't put us out, and Rocky enjoyed it, the patients enjoyed it. Then we took him out to the yard, it was summertime, into the garden. They all came out and were laughing and joking. So that contact with animals is very natural, because when we lived in caves, the dog would have lived with us.
Yeah, and even further on in generations since that, I think obviously a lot of children do have access to pets, but with working families and things like that, it's not always just. It is more difficult, and and certainly not everybody has access to donkeys or the wonderful world of horses. I mean, I adore horses.
Are you a horse person? Yeah?
Yes, I love horses.
Where do you ride horses?
I haven't done as much of it in recent times as what I used to, but in Mullaban,
I
have a friend.
I had an aunt out there, Breege. She's dead and gone now. Breege Grant. She was Jimmy Grant's wife. She was a Mullaban woman, and that's where we buried Paddy O'Hanlon out in Mullaban.
Yes, and my brother has horses.
Actually, that's great.
So,
but the thing about what I discovered, the little bit of horse riding I did, little being the operative word, you get a completely different context to the world surrounding you, because you're higher than a car. You're up here. You're not as high as you're not as high as you would be on a truck or a lorry, but you're sitting up looking around. Wow,
and the movement actually
a whole new
the shifting of balance, and that is one of the things that equine therapy is very, very good for. It's balance and spinal fluid and just balancing the parts of the brain, activating different parts of the brain. But it's not just, the equine therapy sessions aren't, and this was what really interested me as well, they aren't just about sort of riding around in an arena and that happening. So the children, depending on, it's one-to-one therapy, so each program will be designed for each individual child. But as well as that, the child, there's and Little Donkeys, which is the name of the social enterprise, Juanita has a field attached sort of to the arena. So initially they'll start off in that, but then the idea is to introduce the children maybe to treasure hunts of leaves and different plants and flowers and things like that. So maybe hoping that they'll be able to develop skills in that direction. A lot of core strength stuff where maybe they'll have different coloured envelopes to post into a post box, so they need to lean forward on the donkey and come back again. Winding in and out, so learning the difference between left and right, and through time, obviously, as I said, it depends on where the child starts and what their abilities are and things like that. But those are the types of activities that she's hoping to integrate in. And it's a lovely, fun way for children to learn.
She also seems a nice person.
Yeah,
a lovely
very
lady.
warm. But I generally think you find that with anybody who has an affinity with animals, that they have, and I wouldn't be the biggest animal lover. I would never do them any harm.
But you are the biggest, nicest person that I know.
But
without a doubt. Look at you there.
Thank you very much. But I do think people who have a real affinity with animals have a very gentleness about them. And
well, sure, now you're saying it yourself. Out of your own mouth it comes.
So hopefully it'll go well. It's very, very early days. It's only about 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, do you know that you, according to the ladies I met on the train to Dublin last Saturday, you're in danger of getting a writ placed upon you by the Vatican?
Well, sure.
My goodness.
I won't be the first, and I'll hardly be the last.
Tell you what happened. It was extraordinary. I was going down, and there were these two ladies who were obviously nuns. Nuns no longer wear their nun uniforms. They don't have that at all. You get the smell of them, the look of them, the wee silver badges and the wee silver crosses, and the kind of sort of looking out at the world from behind a nun's veil, of an imaginary veil. And I said, I sense I am in the presence of holy women. And they said, oh, yes, we are nuns. I said, what's your order? The missionary sisters of something. And an order I have to say that I didn't readily recognize, but they are bona fide, proper Catholic nuns. And that was fine, that was the end of it. And within 2 minutes, she was fumbling in her bag and handing me a book. And she said, the book said, what every Catholic must do and know. Well, I wasn't sure why she was giving it to me, but I took it and I read through it. And I discovered in it the most draconian load of rubbish imaginable. I didn't say that to the ladies, but it was heartbreakingly awful. It took me close to the Spanish Inquisition. I was waiting to see a Tamagotchi of Torquemada jump out of the bag as well and inflict torture on those who dared disagree. The things that you're not, you must avoid as a Catholic. You must avoid reflexology. You must avoid as a Catholic.
God, we're doing well that they're mentioning it as in books.
Well, now sure, it's great. You must avoid yoga, not allowed. You must avoid spirit guides. So we no spirit. Where does that leave your guardian angel, I rather thought?
Yeah, or saints, or
whatever, you know. And I read it with interest. I said to her, I have to say one thing to you. It's much more interesting than my Irish Times is today. And I thank you for bringing. Would you like it back? And I thought you was going to say, hold on to it, no, and you'll become a better person. And I was going to bring it in and show it to you all. Oh, she says, no, thank you very much indeed. So there you are. So do you feel sort of slightly evil as a consequence of all of that?
No.
No, she doesn't.
Definitely not.
She doesn't at all.
Certainly not as I think whatever we do, we have to, I mean, it's do no harm, isn't it, really? And it's
do no harm.
And do it with the best intentions.
And do a lot of good.
And do a lot of good.
And that's what you're doing in your work.
As long as people are getting the benefits, then.
Yeah.
And, I think whenever I think there's a certain need for maybe some moral guidance and different things in life, and I think there's, some of the world has changed.
Get your own moral guidance through your intelligence.
Yes, through your own intelligence and through your self-respect for yourself and through all
but
of
not
that. So
through,
there's a certain...
go on.
So there's certain guidance maybe that people sometimes at some stages need and things like that.
But not necessarily guidance from sort of an obese cadre of cardinals or whatever.
No, not in that sense.
You get your moral guidance from the way your parents raised you and your own influences from the world surrounding you.
And that all falls through. But I think people start to really see the craziness of some of it when we talk about something like yoga not being good, or okay, there's a form of stillness and meditation, and that's a big part of yoga that gets missed. But it's stretching and it's exercise.
It is doing you a world of good.
And it's doing body and soul and mind a world of good. So I think that's where it sort of starts.
And meditation, my morning prayers are meditation. As I look out over the loch, I'm the possessor of the most wonderful prayer book in the world. And I cherry pick it. I don't take it all. It's the Glenstall Book of Daily Prayer from the Benedictine monks of Glenstall. And there's absolutely beautiful things in that book, mostly from the Psalms, which have gentleness, and really, really hugely important. And that's all good.
But I think for the vast majority, some of the churches now are embracing meditation, and they're embracing. The different, the world is, in some sides, opening up and in other sides closing down. So
sure.
It's about getting the balance somewhere in between and doing doing whatever resonates with deep within yourself and getting that balance.
You have told me you think that, did you tell me or somebody else tell me, that the new exoplanet out in the other solar system, the Kepler 6521,
I don't think this is a conversation we have, but somebody else must have been talking to you about.
Do you talk about these gods? Is God the God of the exoplanet as well as us?
Who knows?
I asked this question of somebody, I don't know, I'm not sure who, and he said, I think it was a holy person. He said, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I said, good on you, baby. Yeah, he's the boss of everything.
And or it's a whole other, it could go on, conversation could go on for hours and days, and I still don't know whether any of us would actually even really know the answers.
Limitations of our intelligence. How can we understand the inexplicable? We can't.
How can we understand something as amazing as what happens on the earth and the planet and even inside ourselves each and every day?
You don't know.
You can't.
But one thing you can understand, and it's hugely, hugely wonderful and great. Again, I was opening my Irish News on the Saturday. That was that Saturday. And the front page had the story of the Kevin Bell Repatriation Fund. In 11 months, they've taken home to Ireland 25 remains of Irish boys and girls who were out there in the world. And a lady in the paper was saying that she had heard about the trust and she sent an email, and no email back, but Kevin Bell's father, Collie Bell, on the phone, right back to her. Just send us. The woman had thought there was going to be all kinds of complications. Just send us the name and details of your undertaker and leave the rest to us. Great people.
Fantastic people, and fantastic for, obviously at the time when Kevin passed away, the people of Newry come out in such, to allow the trust, because I don't believe that ever could have been
said.
Even.
That's what Colin said. Colin corrected me. He said, "Rowan, it's not our trust. It's the trust of the people of Newry. That's who have done it. The people of Newry."
Within 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, it was huge. They've spent. I'm sure. I asked, what does it take to repatriate a body? Certainly around the 4,000 mark would be a fair sort of middle of the road thing. Coming from America, maybe 5,000. coming from Australia. The most expensive they had, 8,000. But they're now raising funds again because the families who've been helped are themselves now helping.
Yeah.
They're getting help from Australia, they're getting help from America, places where the things have occurred. And they have a big night coming on the 17th of June in the Canal Court Hotel in Newry. It's an Aidan O'Rourke pub quiz in the Canal Court Hotel, a quiz to raise major funding because the work has to go on.
Work keeps going, yeah. And as I say, you know, it's as often said, charity begins at home, and that it is definitely a homegrown charity,
without a doubt, without a doubt.
But with massive admiration for the Bell family who have kept it going, because that can't be an easy thing either. But
and for Colin and his dear wife and the wider family, I suggested to them, and I kind of believe it, that this activity, this work they're doing, begins, and the hurt is still there, that's not going to go away, but the work begins to answer questions that 11 months ago when it occurred, they believed could not be answered. The why question, you know. So listen to me, we move on. When do people see you?
Destination Wellbeing goes out today at 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Then we've a repeat next Tuesday on 3 o'clock.
Excellent.
3 o'clock as well.
You'll come to me next week again?
I will indeed, yes.
Go well. We have some music for you now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a lovely
Take
day.
care. You too.